Yes, some people have volunteered already. I can see Honorable Dafiama Paul and then Honorable, is that OPK? Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's fair, Mr. Speaker, because of the system of voting, 6 people on one ballot, and it will mean that it will require some sorting. So, Mr. Speaker, they will sort it first. No, you have to do rather tallying. So you do the tally. So, Mr. Speaker, I think 2 people will be able to assist the clerks to tally effectively. Thank you.
Now, so now sorting and counting of the ballots is taking place. Voting was done on the approval of 6 minister and deputy minister nominees, and now counting is being done. Initially, we had 1 rep each from the minority and majority being polling agents for this ballot, but due to the numbers, there was an intervention made by the majority leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, for an extra number to be added, and so we have 2 on each side who are overseeing the counting being done by the clerks at table. So the counting is being done by the clerks at table. There are 6 names, and beside each name were 2 boxes for yes and no. And so it stands to reason that they would do the counting for each name. Since it's 1 ballot paper with the 6 names, they would have to do the counting for each name to get the total numbers for yes and total numbers for no. Some members of parliament could not partake in the voting. Member for Dom Kwabenya, Sarah Adjournment Safo, was not present. Honorable Philip Baswa, too, we hear was indisposed, and so when his name was called, he was not around. The majority leader indicated that he was on his way, but as at the time the last name was called, he was still not in the chamber, and so he also could not vote. And so there's the counting, the second round of counting going on. Speaker of Parliament Urban Babin, eagle-eyed and patiently overseeing the entire process. The initial understanding was that voting would be done for the 2 justices of the Supreme Court nominees concurrently with that for the ministers, but after suspension, just before voting commenced, the Speaker made it clear that they would do it one at a time. And so now it is not clear whether after this they would do voting for the 2 justices of the Supreme Court nominees, or that would be rescheduled to another day.
Chairman, not done. Outside.
Osei Amwa, Minister of State Designate for the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, and Honorable Stephen Amwa, Doctor, Deputy Minister Designate for the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Pursuant to this communication to the House, the Speaker, Mr. Alban Babin, referred the nominations to the Appointments Committee of Parliament. Now, the Appointment Committee, following this, had a vetting of all 6 nominees. When he took his stand, Minister Designate for the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Tahir Hammond, Member of Parliament for Adansia Sokwa, popularly called Katie Hammond, was quizzed about the government's import substitution policy, and he, in responding to the question on import substitution policy, looked at the success and otherwise of the government's policy, and he described the current situation where virtually everything is imported as scandalous. He indicated that the government is very much concerned and has therefore constituted a committee at the cabinet level to look at the appropriate means of tackling this problem. He was also quizzed about the facilitation of trade among African countries in the framework of AFTA, that is the African Continental Free Trade Area, and he said that he would facilitate the implementation of outstanding protocols, identify areas where Ghana has competitive advantage, and provide business with technical and financial support to enable industry in Ghana produce on an economical scale. On Ghana's industrialization agenda, Mr. Katie Hammond told the Appointments Committee of Parliament that the Ministry of Trade is currently facilitating the implementation of a 10-point industrialization agenda, which include the One District, One Factory, business regulatory reforms, amongst others. And so if he was given the nod, he would ensure that the implementation of these strategies would come through. After Katie Hammond was Honorable Brian Achampon, who would head to the Food and Agriculture Ministry if he gets the spotlight thrown on him with a green light from Parliament. He was quizzed, among others, on the underutilization of arable land and the lack of interest in agriculture in the country. And according to him, research has shown that Ghana consumes about 1.5 metric tons of rice, but produces half of that. And so he stressed that he was not an advocate for import restriction because he believed in competition. He said Ghana as a country needs to make agriculture attractive by producing raw materials on an industrial scale. In his opinion, Mr. Brian Achampon told Parliament's Appointment Committee that the country must focus on achieving increased yields in the production of agricultural products, as well as its exports and buffer. He was also asked about the free fertilizer model, and he alluded to the fact that offering farmers fertilizers at no cost was attractive, not a viable option. In his opinion, if the state pumps free fertilizers into the system, neighboring countries would ultimately be the beneficiaries, as fertilizers or free fertilizers becomes a hot cake for smuggling. Also before the appointment committee was Mr. Stephen Asamoah Boateng, alias Asabi in political circles, who has been nominated to serve as minister at the Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs Ministry. The veteran politician was asked about the mandate of the ministry that he was being quizzed to occupy, and when asked, he noted that the ministry has the responsibility to bring dignity and honor to the chieftaincy institution, and as such he will do his utmost best, and called for the sanitization of the chieftaincy institution as well as the religious bodies, including Christians, Muslims, traditionalists, and other religious faiths in the country. Mr. Asamoah Boateng was also asked about the number of government appointees and the fact that he, until his nomination, had served at the State Enterprises Board. Now, Mr. Asamoah Boateng, when asked about the number of government appointees, he called, in the view of the fact that people were calling on the president to cut down the number of his appointees, Mr. Asamoah Boateng stated that he is not the appointing authority, but understands the reasoning behind that call. He was, however, quick to add that he would leave the decision to the president and concentrate on his duties. He was also asked about the progress of the codification of royal lineages, and he said codifying royal lineages would ensure that in the likely event of a vacancy in a royal lineage, issues of succession and contentions there associated with it could be dealt with amicably. Then came the Minister of State Designate for the Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Osei Bonsu Amwa, alias Obi Amwa. He was also grilled on the role of a Minister of State, and he was of the opinion that the new portfolio that had come will come with an additional responsibility as assigned by the president. But he noted that the emolument attached to his office may be negotiable since he is already on the pay of Parliament. He was also asked about the downsizing of government appointees, and he intimated that the president has already commenced the processes of reducing the size of government. Counting is still underway, and counting is ongoing, actually, in the Chamber of Parliament. So, Speaker has an announcement for us.
I don't know what.
No, this is not about money alone.
Oh my God.
So counting has ended, and the clerk to Parliament, Mr. Cyril Insia, has handed the verdict to the Speaker, and so in a short while, the Speaker would make his pronouncements.
Honorable members, at long last, tabulation of votes has ended. The register had 275 eligible voters. 3 voters were absent. So 272 did exercise their franchise. The results of the voting are as follows. K.T. Hammond, 154 yes, 116 noes, rejected 1, abstention 1. Honorable Brian Achampon, 167 yes, 98 noes, rejected 4, abstentions 3. Honorable Stephen Asamoah Boateng, 147 yes, 122 noes, 3 abstentions. Honorable Muhammad Amin Adam, 152 yes, 117 noes, rejected 1, abstentions 2. Honorable Osei Bonsu Amwa, 149 yes, 120 noes, abstentions 3. Honorable Dr. Stephen Amwa, 146 yes, 123 noes, 3 Abstentions. Honorable members, the House has accordingly approved the nomination of the following persons as ministers and a deputy minister in accordance with Articles 78(1) and 79(1) of the Constitution. They are Honorable Katie Hammond, as eligible for appointment to the position of Minister for Trade and Industry. Honorable Brian Achampon as Minister for Food and Agriculture. Honorable Stephen Asamoah Boateng as Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Honorable Mohammed Amin Adam as Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance. Honorable Osei Bonsu Amwa as Minister of State at the Ministry of Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. Honorable Dr. Stephen Amwa as Deputy Minister at the Ministry for Trade and Industry. Honorable members, on your behalf, I will congratulate the minister-designates for earning your trust to be appointed by His Excellency the President to the ministries aforementioned. Congratulations. Honorable members, we have one very important item before we can think of adjourning the House. The House will have to be reconstituted into a committee of the whole to consider the formula for the District Assembly Common Fund. The decision in connection with the other nominees in respect of the judiciary will be taken on Tuesday. Majority Leader, yes.
The Speaker, just to take us back to discussions in your holding room this morning. the firm agreement that we came to was to finish first with the voting on the ministers and deputy minister nominee, and thereafter move to vote on the justices of the Supreme Court nominated. Mr. Speaker, the common fund formula did not come in at all. Yes. With the greatest respect. Yes. The common fund formula did not come in at all. So I'll plead with you, Mr. Speaker, let us continue with the justices. And when we finish and there's space, that one we're good. Of the greatest respect, Mr. Speaker, let us not alter what agreement that we came to this morning before coming in. Because we don't know about it. With the greatest respect.
Well, I was not at this morning's conclave, and so the first deputy speaker presided over that. But as presided, I was getting instructions, and I'm acting according to the information that came to me. But I will give the minority leader the opportunity to. Why? I don't want to mention your name. Please, minority leader, you are up on your feet. Deputy Minority Whip.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, we are all politicians. We are all politicians. With this kind of elaborate process, I thought we were looking at just getting a very light work, after which we will empathize with our Muslim brothers to close for the day. Mr. Speaker, we were going to concede to you because, yes, it's true, the administrator for this Assembly Common Fund has been here since morning. And you brought him. So if you know you cannot accommodate her, Mr. Speaker, that is a lighter work. But for the voting, we started around 4:30. It's almost 8 o'clock. If you have to start now, Mr. Speaker, by 12, we may not be able to complete. Mr. Speaker, considering that, I don't think we can continue with the voting process today. So, Mr. Speaker, we will call upon you. If the lighter of the work cannot be done, according to what our police are saying, then we can take adjournment for the day and go. No, because you have been lost. Have you ever lost election and continue working? When you lose election, you have to go and reflect. You know our condition. So, Mr. Speaker, with this, they know. Empathize with us more. So, Mr. Speaker, we are calling on you to let us take adjournment for the day, then go. You know our plight. You are all politicians. Some of you have lost before. Some of you have gone before. So that is our position. That is our position. We were supposed to, even some of our colleagues were mourning, we brought them here for mourning. And the Speaker, it's almost 8 o'clock. And you are saying we should continue with this voting process. Once you start, if you don't complete, you cannot truncate it. So, leader, we beg you, consider your brothers and let's close for the day. Speaker himself has been here since morning. Yesterday he closed very late. So the house is in your hands, the Speaker. We are calling on you to take adjournment. If the lighter of the work cannot be done, that is our position, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is true that this morning you did not preside at the conclave meeting. At conclave, the position taken by the majority was to the effect that we should take the vote together and have 2 ballot boxes here. We should have 2 ballot boxes. Our friends on the other side said that no, they would want us to take the judges after the ministerial vote. Mr. Speaker, when we came to the House, I again repeated my application. Thereupon, you sought the views of our colleagues and the first Deputy Speaker who presided. And he did confirm that indeed these were the views, but then it was subject to Mr. Speaker's directive. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, if I may attempt to quote you, you then concluded that your decision is for us to take the ministers first, and after that, we proceed with the judges. And Mr. Speaker, you did indicate to the House that the ballot papers were ready. We would not take the 2 at the same time. Mr. Speaker, in your own words, we should finish the first one and the second one. We come to the second one. Now, on the British Assembly Common Fund, Mr. Speaker, with the greatest respect, I represented my boss, the majority leader, at the conclave meeting. He mandated me to represent him because he had some other engagement. Nothing was said about this common fund formula. Nothing was said. And Mr. Speaker, maybe it is on the other paper. I will check. It's not there. I have gone through the other paper. There is no such thing. Rather, what we agreed on was that if we are able to take the second vote and we have time, we will start the financial bills. Mr. Speaker, and you and I know you are so much interested in ensuring that these financial bills go through because of its other implications that, Mr. Speaker, you have discussed with us. And the minority leader and the majority leader are both privy to some information that our external partners gave them on the need for us to deal with this matter. So, Mr. Speaker, as far as I understand, we are to take the judges. When we are done, we proceed with item 3, being the financial bills. One is at the third reading. So it's a lighter work for us. So, Mr. Speaker, I shall conclude by inviting you to hold that, having agreed to proceed with the vote on the justices of the Supreme Court, the nominees, we should, Mr. Speaker, proceed because, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President's communication to the House was in July of 2022. The report was ready as far back as December 2022. We finished our work, and our standing orders provide that after 3 days of the report, we should proceed. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that on all fours, you are fortified to hold that we proceed with the vote without more. I thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, I'm sorry. Wait. Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of doubt, the Honorable First Deputy Speaker, who presided in your absence, and he did indicate that you had instructed him to sit in for you. He is right here, and I call him as my principal witness. I thank you, sir. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, one more point. Mr. Speaker, one more point. Mr. Speaker, if the voting will take a long time, we are the masters of our own rules. We can go by consensus. So which will take 2 minutes. We can go by consensus, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's go by consensus to make the work easier. We can go by consensus. Yes, yes.
By consensus.
Come in. Yes.
We can amend the
As
vote
well,
by
you were not against
consensus.
the charges. You didn't even call for vote.
I listened to the debate. That debate doesn't give the impression that the House wants to vote by consensus. I listened to the debate. I was in my office. Unless you have changed your mind, and that one you are completely entitled to. You are entitled to change your mind. Honorable members, it is true I authorized the First Deputy Speaker to chair the conclave, to commence proceedings of the day, but I was very clear in my directive to him that I was going to handle the voting system. And he went according to that and told you here that I did indicate that I'll come to preside over the voting. So I am not amending that. I am not amending that. It's only the information that came from some of you, particularly leaders. Drew, are you a leader? Honorable Minister for Communication, Honorable Minister for Communication, you may have to change your seat because you've been getting on my nerves too much. Please, 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 please. Please. Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, may we proceed? May we proceed? Since the decision is that we will handle only the two items, there was no discussion in connection with Common Fund. When I was present, the Common Fund administrator came in to the conclave meeting a number of times and indicated that she was here for the Committee of the Whole to handle her Common Fund. I was there, you were there with me in the conclave. And so as we continued with the voting in connection with the ministers, she sat throughout up to this time. Then a note came from the minority side, drawing my attention to her presence and the fact that that was to be considered today. Please, 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 you are here to guide me when it comes to procedure. And so I listen to you. And from what I get, I try to take or make decisions. And I give you the opportunity. I don't impose it on you. I give you the opportunity to make contributions. And that's what we are doing. So let's be prepared to listen to each other. So this is what led to the directive I gave. If you have changed and you want us to do it by consensus, then we can proceed to do that. But if we have to go through the voting that we have done already, and you are prepared to sit till midnight, I will have to suspend sitting for some time, because I can't continue till that time. That I must be very clear. The first law of nature is self-survival. If I'm no longer speaker today, Parliament of Ghana will continue. I am not prepared to die now. My 100 years haven't come yet. My 100 years haven't come yet. So please, if you want us to continue, we'll take suspension. Yes, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the report of the Appointment Committee on the judges was presented to this House even before I became a leader. Mr. Speaker, the position of the Appointment Committee then is that there was no consensus. Mr. Speaker, you heard the debate of the Appointment Committee this afternoon. Clearly, members of Appointment Committee expressed their reservations about some of the nominees. Mr. Speaker, as a caucus, our position has not changed. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, there is no consensus as elaborated by the Honorable Muntaka when he spoke. Speaker, we are in your hands. We know it's past 2 o'clock. So, Speaker, looking at the time now, it's quarter to 8. Quarter to 8. Mr. Speaker, we are in your hands. It's past 2 o'clock. But we will leave it to your judgment for you to guide us as to how we should end the day. Mr. Speaker, I'm of the view that we will need at least 4 hours to go through the process. 4 hours, between 3 to 4 hours. And that will take us to midnight and beyond. So, Speaker, I urge you, if you can, to adjourn, and then we'll come back on Tuesday to continue the process. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leader.
To reiterate the point that I made, that the decision that we came to in your holding room in conclave was that we'll do these 2 decision making today. Mr. Speaker, it is the reason why when you came and you said we should do one after the other, when I proposed that we should put the 2 together, you said no, we should do one before the other. For which reason you went forth to advertise the ballot for the judges. You showed everybody. Mr. Speaker, that is where we are. Now we are being told that you had a note from leadership. My side of this house was not part of it. I saw something being written on the back of one other paper. It was not part of the agreement. I saw that they were writing here, and they transmitted it through Mr. Jethro to you. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be tenable. When we agree together. And if we have to sit down and maybe, Mr. Speaker, draw again, fair and fine. But it cannot be that something is smuggled to you and it's made to appear as if it's coming from leadership. Certainly not from
Majority Leader. Majority Leader, I was not expecting you to go this tangent. As I presided today, you equally sent such messages through people to me. You did send notes to me through the same sources, using the same order paper, yellow. Why are you referring to one and trying to behave as if it's not fair? Don't do that. Please, what you said from the very beginning is right. What I stated this morning, which you have referred to, you are right. But none of us anticipated that there will be so much intervening circumstances for us to delay up to this time. We didn't anticipate that. And you are aware of some of the reasons why we delayed. That is why I'm referring to the notes that were sent through me. We don't have to go to that extent because we need to confide in each other. So I don't want to go to that tangent. Please, I handle both of you impartially. I listen to both. You pass notes to me, and I take them into consideration in taking my decision. I don't want us to try to undermine each other's integrity. That is not correct. Let's do our work as a family. We need each other to be able to transact this business. This is not the end of our sitting. We will continue, and there are more important matters before us, and we need to work together to get those things approved. Please. Yes, you can continue.
Mr. Speaker, I'll just say that because you had said that leadership had communicated to you in respect of dealing with the common fund, I just wanted to send an indication that that communication did not come from my
yes,
part.
I stated that it didn't come from your side.
Having said so, Mr. Speaker, I would want to remind of the initial discussion that we had. I know, as you have indicated, you must be exhausted at this time to go and refuel and come back. Mr. Speaker, so you're calling for a suspension of the House. If we have to do that to clear this one, that is the decision on the justices, so be it. But that one should be put in abeyance again. Mr. Speaker, that would be a difficult decision for us. And I'm pleading with you, if you have to adjourn, suspend sitting for maybe 30 minutes for people to refuel, that could be done. In any event, if it is only the decision making of voting, Mr. Speaker, as you indicated to us yesterday, that the ruling from the Supreme Court has settled it all for us. Where there was doubt, now the Supreme Court has come with its own ruling, which is to the effect that deputy speakers, when presiding, can vote. As a speaker, you drew attention to us of this matter to us yesterday. So, if it becomes necessary, one of the deputy speakers could be in the chair once we go to refuel, and then we do the voting. The setting up will be done, and we will do the voting. On the other hand, if you want to suspend and be in the chair yourself, Mr. Speaker, we can suspend for a short while and come back and do what is required of us. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Yes, Minority Chief.
Mr. Speaker, you were, first of all, you were very right when you said there was an understanding that the Common Administrator would present a report to plenary, to Committee of the Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, my colleague, the Majority Chief Whip, invited us to meet with the Common Fund Administrator to prepare her to be in the House today at the Committee of the Whole to consider the formula, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, we saw the Common Fund Administrator here since morning. There was no need for us to even discuss that further at conclave today. That is why you saw her there. So when my colleagues are saying that there was no understanding to take the Common Fund formula, that is not true. We met in the Chief Whip's office, and then we said that the Common Fund Administrator will be here, Mr. Speaker. So you were right when you got that information. Mr. Speaker, I listened to the Majority Leader saying that you could leave the chair for one of the deputies. Mr. Speaker, the fact is that the Speaker can take a rest. What about us, the members of Parliament? Can we find another person to come and replace us? Mr. Speaker, there's nothing wrong if we adjourn and come back on Tuesday. We have, in fact, at the conclave, Honorable Bua reminded us that whilst we tabled the two motions on both the ministerial appointment and the judges, I remember him saying that, do you even know when we will complete the first item, let alone be thinking of the second and how do you call it, the tax bills? And we said, let's start and see where it takes us. Mr. Speaker, it's almost 8 o'clock or 8 o'clock. The point we are making is that we have far gone beyond the acceptable times that we can start at the big. We are ready to vote, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I am of the view, Mr. Speaker, that we can come back on Tuesday and consider these issues. So, Mr. Speaker, I can see that for some reason, the Common Fund Administrator are just left. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleading with you. Let's take an adjournment. Today is Friday, and come back on Tuesday. Mr. Speaker, we are entirely in your hands, and it's about human rights and our health. So, Mr. Speaker, if you decide to adjourn us, you haven't breached any law. You are rather just saving our health so that we can come back on another day and continue the work of this country, Mr. Speaker. That is my point.
Honorable Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. Is that the name of your ministry?
Right, so, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker. With the greatest respect to your office, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians are watching us. And I'm told that people even outside Ghana on Facebook watch us. Mr. Speaker, during voting in this country, there's no doubt that members of parliament belong to the elite in society. We are people who, under normal circumstances, should understand better voting procedures. In this country, when we are voting, we vote for parliamentary and presidential at the same time at the polling station. People are giving ballot papers, they vote for presidential, after that they vote for parliamentary. We watch elections in Nigeria. In their case, they have even 3 ballot boxes. People who may not be able even to read and write, they identify by red color, green color, black color. And we saw it, we watched it. People pick ballot paper, they vote, they go another ballot paper, they vote 3 times. And they did that. We are in this chamber. I found it very difficult to appreciate the fact that we could not have voted for the nominees for the ministers and the judges at the same time. We were here, we respected your ruling, Mr. Speaker, and you said that we are doing this after that. And Mr. Speaker, you actually went ahead and showed us the ballot paper for the judges one. And all of us knew that if you are taking 6 boxes for the nomination, and after that it will be counted, we knew that it will take this time, and after that we will do the judges. It cannot be the case that we are beginning to know that it will take a longer time when we agreed or we rejected the fact that we should do the voting at the same time. So people listen to us. We go through this process. Then after that, arguments come up again that it will take a longer time, which was so obvious from the beginning that that's what we should do. This is the House of Parliament. The people outside should have a great respect for us. And we should be seen to be doing things to conform to that. Other than that, people begin to read meanings to what we do. We respect the health of everybody, including Mr. Speaker. But if it will mean that, Mr. Speaker, we respectfully take a break and we'll continue. I submit to you, Mr. Speaker, that that's how we should do. So that Ghanaians will also know that when we speak in this house, we follow what we do. So if it will mean that we'll take some break and continue the voting, I think that. so that we will earn the respect of the entire nation. As of this, Mr. Speaker.
Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, I wish you were seated in the House throughout, but on many occasions you were in the lobby. And I came out, the time I suspended and I came out, you were outside in the lobby. You don't know what transpired before I suspended sitting. Please, let's don't pretend. Let's don't pretend. All the submission you have made is right. But there were things that happened which made me suspend. When I showed the ballot papers, even after deciding that we vote on only the ministers, you saw what happened even during the voting. In spite of all the explanations and the rest, even some of you, when you came to vote, you didn't even know where to pass to vote as members of parliament. Even that is an indictment. That's an indictment. The public, they were watching. In spite of all the explanations, some people got lost, jumping over things. Here, and members voted, and the ballots were rejected. So please, don't go there. I will support you 100%. You know why I will do so. But this one, please, I can't tell you all the because I sit here. The information that come to me, they don't come to you. And those the documents, they are in documentary forms, and I file them so that tomorrow, if somebody tries to raise anything, I will produce evidence. So please, after listening to you, at least, please, if my deputies are prepared to go on, I'm prepared to yield to one of them to continue. But yes, by the ruling of the Supreme Court and by the rules that we are bringing before the House, which definitely we will start trying to implement, is for the deputy to indicate his decision through the table office, the clerk, which would then be added to the vote. The deputy is not expected, if it is a voice vote, to also shout, and the deputy is not expected, if there is any other vote, to sit here and start indicating or raising the hand. No, it will be through the clerk, and it will be added. That is the practice. But I will also want to plead with members that because we want to work as a family, once in a while, there must be compromises. Please, once in a while, there must be compromises. I don't want to suspend the sitting again. I've changed my mind. I'm not going to suspend sitting. I'm not going to get leadership to discuss this further. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, we have listened to the indications that are coming on the floor. The Speaker, they cited your instance and said that because you have been here, you can take leave of us. The Speaker, I may be young. The Honorable Cletus Abuka is about 60 or 70 something years.